the history of aviation, there are stories of tragedy, resilience, and unanswered questions, but few are as astonishing as that of JAT Flight 367. On January 26, 1972, what began as a routine passenger flight became the center of a horrific mid-air explosion. Out of 28 passengers and crew on board, only one person survived, a 22-year-old flight attendant, Vesna Vulović, who fell over 33,000 feet to the ground, defying logic, science, and the odds to live. But how did she live through one of the highest free falls in history? And what really caused the disaster that claimed so many lives? This is the story of JAT Flight 367. JAT Flight 367 was a regularly scheduled passenger flight operated by Yugoslav Airlines. Commonly known as JAT, it was the national carrier of Yugoslavia. On January 26, 1972, the flight departed from Copenhagen, Denmark, en route to Belgrade, Yugoslavia, with scheduled stopovers in Zagreb and Sarajevo. On board the McDonnell Douglas DC-9 were 28 passengers and crew, including 22-year-old flight attendant Vesna Vulović, who was working on her first shift on this route. For the passengers, this was supposed to be a routine journey across Europe. The political climate of the time, however, was far from routine. The 1970s were marked by heightened tensions in Europe, with rising political violence and extremist groups targeting civilian aircraft. One such group, the Croatian separatist Ustaše, had a history of using explosives to further their cause. It was against this backdrop of political unrest and increasing threats to aviation security that JAT Flight 367 took off, unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. JAT Flight 367 departed Copenhagen Airport at exactly 3:15 p.m. local time. The McDonnell Douglas DC-9 was cruising at an altitude of 33,330 feet as it approached the border of Czechoslovakia en route to its first scheduled stop in Zagreb. Everything appeared routine. The crew, led by Captain Ludvík Razdrě and First Officer Slobodan Mihajlović, had reported no mechanical issues. But at approximately 4:01 p.m., tragedy struck. Without warning, a powerful explosion tore through the aircraft's fuselage. Investigators would later determine that a bomb, likely concealed in a briefcase in the cargo hold, had detonated mid-flight. The force of the blast caused the DC-9 to break apart in the sky over the village of Srbska Kamenis, in what is now the Czech Republic. The wreckage of the aircraft was scattered across a snow-covered hillside. Tragically, 27 of the 28 passengers and crew aboard were killed instantly, either due to the explosion or the catastrophic impact of the ground. Eyewitnesses in Srbska Kamenis described hearing a deafening noise, followed by pieces of the aircraft falling from the sky. Amid the carnage of JAT Flight 367's crash, something unimaginable happened. One person survived the explosion and the fall from 33,000 feet, 22-year-old flight attendant Vesna Vulović. Vesna had been stationed in the rear section of the McDonnell Douglas DC-9 when the bomb detonated. The explosion violently split the aircraft apart mid-air, and Vesna's section, which was the tail end of the plane, detached from the rest of the fuselage and began its horrifying descent to the ground. For over 3 minutes, Vesna descended through the freezing atmosphere, trapped inside the tail section. The impact on the earth should have been fatal, but thankfully for her, the terrain below worked in her favor. The tail section struck a forested hillside in the village of Srbska Kamenis, where snow-covered trees and the sloping ground absorbed much of the impact. Miraculously, Vesna was found alive by a local villager, Bruno Honke, who had served as a medic during World War II. Drawn to the crash site by the sound of the explosion, Honke discovered Vesna lying amidst the wreckage. She was unconscious, her uniform soaked in the blood of her injuries. Vesna, at that time, had suffered a fractured skull, 2 broken legs, 3 crushed vertebrae, several broken ribs, and internal bleeding. Remarkably, however, her heart was still beating. Bruno's quick actions likely saved Vesna's life. He ensured her immediate medical evacuation, and she was transported to a hospital in Prague, where doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize her. She spent several days in a coma, and when she finally regained consciousness, she had no memory of the explosion or the fall. Months of intensive care and rehabilitation followed, and though she suffered temporary paralysis due to her spinal injuries, she eventually regained the ability to walk. Her resilience amazed her doctors, who described her survival as a medical miracle. Experts have speculated on the factors that contributed to Vesna's survival. Her position in the tail section may have shielded her from the full force of the explosion. The rapid depressurization caused by the bomb likely induced a state of unconsciousness, reducing her physical trauma during the fall. Finally, the snow-covered terrain and dense forest absorbed much of the energy from the impact. In recognition of her astonishing survival, Vesna Vulović was awarded the Guinness World Record for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. Vesna's story captured the world's attention. While many saw her survival as a testament to the resilience of the human body and spirit, Vesna herself often downplayed her role, stating, "I'm just lucky. I should be dead." After surviving the unimaginable, Vesna Vulović was determined to return to a sense of normality. She expressed a strong desire to resume her duties as a flight attendant with JAT Airlines. However, her newfound global fame made this impossible. Instead, the airline reassigned her to a desk job, where she worked for many years in various administrative roles. Though she would never fly again, Vesna's loyalty to JAT Airlines remained steadfast. She never blamed the airline for the tragedy, firmly believing the bombing was an act of terrorism beyond their control. In the years following the crash, Vesna's voice grew beyond aviation. During the 1990s, as Yugoslavia fractured into violent conflict, she became a vocal advocate for peace and unity. Opposed to nationalism and the wars tearing her country apart, Vesna called for understanding and reconciliation. Her messages of peace resonated deeply with those affected by the turmoil. Vesna's survival story became a symbol of hope in a nation struggling with division, and her courage inspired countless people both within Yugoslavia and around the world. Despite her fame and the admiration she received, Vesna faced personal challenges, especially survivor's guilt. These emotional struggles, coupled with the pressures of international attention, led her to seek a quieter life in her later years. Vesna eventually retired from public life and settled in Belgrade, Serbia. Though she rarely gave interviews, her story continued to captivate the world. She passed away peacefully on December 23, 2016, at the age of 66. So, there you have it, the tragic story of JAT Flight 367. What do you think about Vesna? Do you believe her survival was pure luck, or was there more at play? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And while at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible aviation stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.